So let me leave you with this, all right? Because if you understand this part, you understand everything we've been talking about tonight. History does not end because people are evil. It doesn't end because the leaders are corrupt. It doesn't even end because violence appears. No, history breaks when judgment collapses. It breaks when a society can no longer agree on what matters most, when everything becomes urgent, when nothing is prioritized, when power reacts instead of govern. You see, that's the signal. Not chaos, not noise, not outrage, but indecision at the top, disguised as constant motion. And that's what you're seeing now. You see, look around. Every day a new emergency, every day a new threat, every day a new enemy, every day a new justification. Immigration, domestic terrorism, foreign adversaries, internal traitors, economic collapse, imminent economic collapse, cultural collapse. And this is the man. This is Donald Trump. It's his cabal also, but they're afraid also because the inner chaos, or I should say the outer chaos that you see, it's a reflection of the inner chaotic mind of this mentally diseased and failing man. Like I said, he's got dementia. He's had, 3, 4 brain scans? You don't do that normally. For a president, you just do one a year, but he's had 3. I think it's 3 or 4. You don't do that unless something's going on. And none of this resolves. None of it stabilizes. It just stacks. That's not accidental. Healthy governments triage this stuff. They do priorities. Like if you've got a cut finger and you've got another guy who's got a chest wound, you're not going to get in to see the doctor first with your cut finger. The guy with the chest wound, he's going to go first. That's what I mean by triage. Healthy governments do that. They triage. They rank threats. They decide what gets addressed now and what waits. Unhealthy governments, they flood. They flood the zone with crises so no single failure can be isolated. Look, I haven't talked much about the Epstein files. Other people are talking about it. I commend you to their posts so you can hear what they're talking about. It's really bad. So what do you have this administration, this cabal doing? You have it invading Venezuela. Why? The argument can be made so that people won't pay attention to Epstein anymore, because Epstein is really bad. People are saying that they've read what's in it, and they haven't even, and they don't even think that everything that needs to be released will ever be released. But what has been released is really, really bad. So you invade Venezuela. Send the fleet down to the coastal waters off Venezuela. Do that. Spend our taxpayers' money. Break the treasury. Do whatever you can so that people don't know what it is that you really did on Epstein Island and what your real relationship with him is. And that's the way it is. And then you talk about Greenland. Why? So people aren't going to pay attention to Epstein, or maybe stop to pay attention to Venezuela. Then send the fleet into the Mediterranean to deal with Iran. Why? People forget about Epstein. Do you see? You flood the zone with crises so that no single failure can be isolated. No single abuse can be examined. No single decision can be judged, because people are just, their heads are spinning. And you frame everything as existential. And when you do that, urgency loses meaning. And when urgency loses meaning, authority stops persuading and starts coercing. That's not ideology. That's mechanics of the late empire. And here's the part that people miss, okay? This does not mean that collapse is inevitable. And you hear me talk doom and gloom, and you hear me say things the way I think they really are, which is what I'm representing to you. But there's a strong base of people in this country that does not like this. The polls are all against what's going on in Minnesota, and the numbers are bipartisan. The last thing, when I heard recently, today, it was 58%, and it's bipartisan. It's not just Democrats, 58% of Democrats who don't like it. It's everybody, 58%. And I could go through the other polls, and they're all like that. That's the point I'm trying to make. So collapse is not inevitable. It's not inevitable by any means, but it means that clarity is essential, because systems don't all fall at once. They fall when people stop recognizing patterns. And this is why I keep coming back to this idea. Not headlines, not personality, but behavior. Watch repetition. That's what I'm bringing to you. Watch escalation. That's what I'm reporting on. Watch who is protected. Watch who is sacrificed. Watch what is normalized. Okay? And most importantly, Watch what is no longer discussed at all. Because you see, silence is not neutrality. Silence is selection. And if you're wondering why so many people feel disoriented right now, why something feels wrong, even though they can't put a name to it, that's why. That's your intuition. You should pay attention to it. That's your intuition, reacting faster than the narrative and speaking to your spirit. So you're not crazy. What you're sensing is stress behavior, not in individuals, but in institutions. Power under pressure, it behaves differently. It narrows loyalty. It widens enemies. It confuses legality with legitimacy. And it begins to treat accountability as sabotages. That's why you hear phrases like steady state. That's when force becomes routine. They want you to think that. Steady state. That's when violence is justified after the fact. That's when dissent is rebranded as threat. And once that language takes hold, it spreads, not because everybody agrees with it, but because challenging it becomes risky. And that's how normalization works. Not with applause, but with exhaustion. So if you're asking yourself, what do we do with this? Well, you listen to Politics by Jake, but if you're, other than that, you're asking, what do we do with this? If you're asking, how does this help me tomorrow? Or next week or next year? Here's the answer. It's not comforting, but it is honest. You do not fix this by panicking. You do not fix this by disengaging. And you do not fix this by pretending it's all just noise. You fix it by naming it. Call it what it is. Naming what is happening. By refusing to accept inverted language. Refusing to treat cruelty as competence. Refusing to confuse force with strength, because recognition, the thing I repeat to you time and time again, is the one thing systems like this cannot survive. They can survive anger, they can survive mockery, they can survive scandal. What they cannot survive is being seen clearly. That's why you're seeing all this misdirection, because once people understand the pattern, not just the event, but the pattern, the spell breaks. That doesn't mean the danger disappears. It means the lies stop working. And that is always the turning point. So if today's show has done anything, I hope it has given you orientation, not certainty, maybe, not comfort, maybe, bearings. Because history doesn't announce itself with a siren. It announces itself. It wasn't like when the Roman Empire fell. There wasn't a big siren and a big bullhorn that said, warning, the Roman Empire has fallen. That not happen. It announces itself when power can no longer decide what matters most and tries to make everything matter equally. And that's when you know you're living inside the signal. And this is Politics by Jake.